It's the third Saturday of the month, so it's time to talk Game Club. I'm your host, Boston. Joining me, as always, is Moonpir.
Bonjour, mon ami.
And MusiM.
Hello.
This month, we're going to recap about the Swapper. I guess we'll be talking about spoilers like we usually do, but
There's
that
only
probably
one spoiler, really. Come on.
Yeah, that doesn't really mean a lot for this game. All right, let's go through our normal beginning of the show stuff about the game. It released basically consistently from May 2013 to June 2015. It was basically, the original version came out, and then Curve Studios just sort of ported one platform after another. Mm-hmm. Published and developed by Facepalm Games, except for the ports, as I said, by Curve Studios. Came out on, hold your breath, PC, OS X, Linux, PS3, PS4, PS Vita, Wii U, and Xbox One.
Wasn't too bad.
No. We'll talk about all the platforms that the next game came out on, because it's even longer than that.
Oh, no.
Yeah. We can skip all that. Time travel. Metacritic average across all platforms is a 90, and OpenCritic has it an 85. So, really well regarded.
Yeah, I believe the next question is top of the pile, middle, or forgotten. I think we can all agree top of the pile. Everybody talked about this thing the second it was released.
Yep.
I'm kind of a middle of the pile guy, but I'm not a puzzle gamer guy necessarily. Like, I've been surrounded by them. I've played them occasionally. Like, I played The Witness. I did not beat The Witness. I don't know. I'm either dumb or I solve puzzles at my work or something, but they aren't my forte.
Oh yeah, it's one of those things where this is 100%. This is a puzzle platformer with kind of Portal mechanics ish.
Yeah.
And certain people I know absolutely hate these type of games. I think we've talked about it on the show proper. I have about 300 games installed on my Xbox, another 250 available to install, something like that. Probably about 150 of them are quote-unquote puzzle platformers, which the second I buy one, Jess immediately stops the installation, cancels the installation, and hides it from her list because she abhors puzzle platformers.
I don't want it. I don't want it installed. No, thank you.
Yep. I bought something when it was on sale for like $3. I was like, oh, hey babe, this is supposed to be really good. And it's easy achievements. And she's like, ooh. And then she saw the trailer. She's like, nope.
You son of a...
Yep.
So let's scoot back real quick before we talk about the game itself. For peers for the release date in May 2013, we only have two of them, Metro Last Light and the other puzzle platformer, Fez.
Oh, okay.
So, couldn't have been a worse time for this game to come out. Alright, so let's break it down with what we liked and what we didn't like. I have to admit here at the beginning, I wasn't able to finish this game. It's fairly short, but the reason why is there's sort of two zero-gravity sections where you're using the swapper to propel yourself, and the way the camera rotated and at the speed it did made me horribly dizzy and horribly nauseous. So I made it about a third to a half of the way through the game and then watched the rest of it on YouTube because I couldn't even look away from the screen. It was so bad.
Yeah, I don't suffer from like travel sickness. I get a little bit of seasickness, but that's only if I'm on a boat for like 5 days. And that section was very, very... I was like, this is starting to hit me. So kind of just fly through it as quick as I could.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did not, like... There was one door where I missed it the first time and had to...
circle back around.
Well, I guess whoever's listening's probably played through it, but, shooting in the opposite direction you want to go with that very limited capacity and kind of having the button mash. And, like, I was playing on PS4 because I got it with PS Plus at some point.
Yeah, me too.
So, like, the control on that game, I think, is really meant for either a touch screen or a mouse.
Yes.
And having to control, like, basically that mouse pointer in the opposite direction that you want to push yourself in zero-G was borderline annoying for me.
Yeah, that's probably my biggest gripe with this game. Story resolution will probably be the other one, but my biggest gripe is probably if you're not playing it on a platform where you have a mouse, I feel like it's sort of playing second fiddle. Which, on at least, I never played the PC version, but at least on the PS4, and I'm assuming in the Xbox One, the slowdown is really generous when you're aiming.
Yep.
Which really helps, but it still just feels like you're just swinging the swapper one way and swinging it back the other way, and it doesn't feel great, but I don't know how you'd get around that with analog sticks.
Yeah. I think based on the really poor job of the control getting transferred over, I'm not going to lie, I did think to myself, did Nicholas port this over at some point?
Heyo.
Yeah, it's
a tough problem.
Yeah, we talked about it on a pre-show, I think it was, for one of the episodes. Like, that control scheme is not designed for a controller, not in the slightest. I mean, come on, everything's got an additional app these days. Dead simple. Have a touchscreen on your phone be like just like a map layout of the thing, and you can touch where you want to fire it.
Well, the great part about the PS4 is it has the touchpad, which is a mouse trackpad. Some games even use it as like a trackpad for a mouse.
Interesting.
It's just, like I said, it's just no fault of Curve Studios for porting it. Like you sort of, that's probably the best way to resolve the problem. It just doesn't feel super great.
Yeah.
I think the only other, I don't want to say negative thing, we'll say a critique I would have of the game is when you get to the portals, the feedback on determining, like, because you go to your, like, when you hit the portal screen, like, it's just your map screen, and you don't, like, the first time I hit it, I didn't realize I had actually selected it. And then from there, it's, whenever I moved my analog stick that was associated with going between the portals, it wouldn't actually always go to the next one. Sometimes I had to go scroll over to it, and sometimes that cursor was hard for me to visually see because I have a 40-inch TV and I sit like 10 feet away from it, so like
yeah, it's not like you're sitting there on the Vita like with it up to your eyeballs being like, what am I looking at?
Yeah, man, you should join the 6 feet club like I do. Like I think I literally sit 6 feet away from my TV.
Yeah, see everything.
Yes.
And our problem is all the good consoles are in the bedroom. So, like, I can't get my bed any closer unless I just want to not be able to pass between my TV and the bed. So.
Right.
Yeah. But no, you are right. That the thing I noticed with that specific thing you just brought up, the whole portals screen, was it seemed to, the left stick I believe was the change selected portal, and the right stick was still pan the map, and it seemed to prioritize panning the map over highlighting the portal that you were in. I ran into the exact same issue. Like, I had issues being like, is this the one I wanted to go to? No. Okay.
Yeah.
That's probably exactly what I was doing. I played this game over, I think, about 5 sessions. I'm 90% sure it took me 3 times as long as it took me to beat it.
I doubt that. We'll get there, but the end of that game, I cheated. I hands in the air. I could not solve a couple of the puzzles near the end of the game when you are doing the whole gravity switches and
that would have stopped me dead in my tracks. Because I think part of the strength of the swapper is I like that you get the swapper, the actual item, really, really early, and it teaches you very early on that the rules are really simple. You can't fall very far, and you swap between people. You either create them or you swap. Like, there really isn't that much, and then you get into you can't shoot certain things through red lights, and you can't shoot them through blue lights, and guess what purple lights are? Like, all that stuff is really simple, but I feel like the game starts getting really complicated in a way that I had trouble with starting, where you had those like conveyor belts almost. They were like, you'd hop in them and they would just take you to a specific spot. That started really messing with me.
Well, luckily those were never actually, like, the first time I saw those and encountered them, like, it was real intimidating, but like the map I think does do a pretty good job at, everything is bright green where you haven't been or you haven't gotten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very clear about, you need more orbs. They are here, here, and here. There's the 3 doorways.
But I'm glad they never used those tubes in an actual puzzle, because that would have been upsetting. But
yeah, I only ran into one with those things, but that was really it.
So there were only 2 puzzles I did not solve myself. One of them, I think there are 2 puzzles in the game where you have to reabsorb one of your clones to complete the puzzle. And that was one of those puzzles that I did not get through.
Out of curiosity, because the one I struggled with, and it's just because I was being stupid at the end of the day, was the 4 switches, 1 up, 1 up, 1 down, 1 down, and they all lift up doors. So there's 4 switches, a hole in the middle, 2 gravity switches, and you've got to get a clone through the 5 doors to be able to swap to them and have someone on all 4 switches at the same time. And that was literally because I forgot to swap. I couldn't figure out this because I forgot to swap.
Right.
Well, that was one of the ones I got yesterday. The one that tripped me up was you had a... I can't remember what color the light is. I'm not going to be able to set this up. You had a platform in the middle, and you had a switch on top and a switch on bottom. You had a purple light on top, and then I think... I can't remember, another color light on bottom, and then you had the 2 gravity switchers over here. And what you had to do was basically you put a guy on the switch, and then that guy creates a guy to the far left of that, and then you move it over so that he hits this other gravity thing that puts him down here, and then the guy that you actually are reabsorbs him, and then you go back and repeat that.
Oh, wow.
Until your guy is in the place that you want him, and then put a guy on top of that, and this makes no sense what I'm describing.
It kind of does for me, and that's the scary thing is you do start to think completely differently about the way to solve the puzzles based solely on the mechanics. I mean, like you said, there was certain puzzles where you're doing a daisy chain, where you're just like, well, I can't teleport out of this light that I'm in, but I need to be able to press the switch and not be on the switch, so you end up just daisy chaining yourself backwards.
Or you need her to push I need her to stand in front of this box and push it a little bit, and then clone herself, and then push another little bit, and then sort of keep scooting across the screen.
I remember that one.
Yeah,
that was. I found really the key for me in trying to figure these out was, okay, where does my guy need to be? What can I turn off to get him there? Can I clone it? Can I create a clone and then let the blue light come back on and just swap over there? And then also where are the actual places my guy can start out? Because that's going to limit whatever path I take. And that helped me a lot thinking that way.
Mm-hmm. I did really like how the game had that shaft of light at the beginning of every room, where it's look, if you just want to reset this whole thing, just walk back in there, you don't have to go out of the room and come back or hit the start button or anything. I really liked that it was just, hey, just go back here and let's reset this whole thing.
So that one puzzle I was stuck on that I described on here did not have that. It really ticked me off.
Oh no.
It was a puzzle where you lose one of your clones at the beginning to a pit, so you're already down one, and they didn't have a light for you. Oh, that's exactly why they didn't have the light, because they didn't want you to get that clone back.
You couldn't steal the clone back. There's another one like that where they drop 2 in the pit, and then you've only got 3 clones to deal with the entire rest of the puzzle.
Oh man,
I remember that one.
No, I do think the game is designed fantastically. The puzzles do ramp up nicely. It's not just a case of, here you go, here's 3 easy puzzles, and then here's the hardest stuff you've ever seen in a puzzle game.
Right.
It does a very good job of slowly but surely ramping it up to that difficulty, and like I said, I think there was 3 or 4 that I couldn't do, and like I said, that's probably just me being an absolute idiot, and that 4 switches one I mentioned earlier, all I had to do was swap to somebody else, and I ended up being in the perfect way to solve the problem 5 times before I remembered. Just swap to the guy that's already upside down.
I feel like that's such a common thing in puzzle games, though, because I feel like it's all how your brain works. We were talking about the Witness, and for my wife and I, there's a famous set of puzzles where you're outside in this temple and the sun is really bearing down on you. And for days, I couldn't figure out how to do the puzzle. And I eventually looked it up online. And they're like, oh, yeah, just, trace the scratches on the screen that you can see when the sun hits the screen at the right point. And I was just like, my brain would have never figured that out. It's like there has to be a puzzle or a set of puzzles where your brain just doesn't work that way. Mm-hmm. Or, you're like me and you're just stubborn enough where it's like, I'm going to figure it out. I'm just going to get mad at it and I'll figure it out.
So I think this game had a really good mechanic discovery point in it too, because I imagine a year or two from now, the part I'm going to actually remember about this game is, oh yeah, that part where you discover that you can create a clone and swap to it in midair.
Yeah, yep. And I'm like, how am I going to get down this giant chasm? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Well, a bunch of her are dead, but hey, I'm down here safe.
Yep. Out of curiosity, did you guys find any of the hidden terminals?
Oh, man, that's...
I found one.
I feel like that's... So, we were just talking about this on Discord, on the Game Club channel. Sort of famously, the Don't Starve devs put in a couple of achievements that are really like FU achievements. That are sort of like, you got to build this incredibly difficult thing and turn the crank on it 700 times, and you get an achievement for it. And that's very much like, well, because we hate achievements, so screw you guys. I felt like all 10 of these in this game were sort of like that, where it's the lore that were in those terminals that I looked up and read them were good. It's
incredible. It's absolutely incredible, because when I got to the 124 points, which is you have 124 orbs, here's the last section of the game, go do it. I knew that was coming up, because when I'm playing a game and it has achievements in, I may or may not every game, but games like this, I always have a check and see if there's a cutoff point.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally, it's a bunch of people who will just say, when you hit this point, this is the cutoff point. You can still get every other achievement in the game. Don't do this if you want to go for achievements.
Right.
So, no spoilers, no nothing like that. You can actually
just your point of no return.
Yeah, you can tell the one terminal I found, because it's the first achievement I got was the number 2, and then I went back and got 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10.
Nice.
And thank you, Maka91, I believe it is. He's legendary on the achievement/trophy hunting channels. He's got a guide for pretty much everything. And
nice.
Really well produced, really well done. Shows you, he does the classic thing of simple things. Show me the map at the start of that section.
Where am I?
Exactly. And he's really good at it, and so I followed his video, got all the other terminals, and as I was getting them, I was thinking, I'd be mad if I missed these. Like, if I didn't get these, I'd be kind of upset, because some of that lore in there is incredible.
Yeah. I did really like a lot of the writing. A lot of the terminal stuff was really good. I did really like the music. It's pretty sparse, but it's never really annoying. And I'm surprised we haven't talked about it yet, but the graphics, the game is totally made out of clay and sort of household materials. Like, at the beginning of the game, when the spaceship comes down, I was like, is that a tin can? That looks an awful lot like a tin can. And then I went and looked up, and it's, oh yeah, it totally is. And
it's a tin
they
can
made the whole game out of clay and real stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I think the story, though, for me, falls apart pretty hard near the end, when one of my bigger problems is the voice acting is really great in the game, but Dr. Chalmers, Dr. Bennett, and the Scrapper all sound exactly the same.
Yep. I think my subtitles for clarifying who was talking.
Yeah, you have to have those on, because if not, it's just like, these two brains, are they the same person?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm, like, your character, like, that's got to be a clone of the Scrapper, right?
I think it's heavily implied, yeah.
Yeah, that was, like, I had a really hard time reading and paying attention to the story in this. Like, I actually went into this game with an incredibly negative attitude of, I really want to be playing all these other games I have. Let's see what we have here. And then, like, I'd play it for a bit and be like, oh yeah, this isn't bad at all.
Yeah.
And it was just this constant, like, trying to deprogram myself from having this bad attitude when I started. But I was trying to read up on the ending and kind of what happened and what it all means. And I swapped. Did you guys? Or
Nope.
I guess you didn't, Boston. But.
I would have picked swap just to see what I saw both endings, but I would have picked swap just to see.
Yeah, I did not swap. I figured
You
out.
took the long fall.
I took the long fall. Yes, which, I mean, the story on this is like, I'm not going to say it's surface. It's a surface story because they are trying to push a lot of things. I think it's a story that definitely makes you think. Like, it's designed to be one of those, like, what is blank? In this case, it's what is consciousness.
Right.
Like, it brings the very real thing, which we'll probably get to in the next 50 years or so, which is if you become a digitized consciousness and put in a machine, are you still the same person, or are you not the person anymore because you are not connected to your body?
Right.
Like, it brings forth that whole conversation, and like I actually loved the fact that you got three personalities in the game: the Chalmers, the other Doctor, and the Scrapper, all arguing over what it is. Is consciousness what you think it is, or is it something completely different?
Right. And like I like that the game genuinely questions, what does the swapper do?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you genuinely swap? Are you just swapping with a clone? Are they really clones? Like, I like that it keeps asking that question and never really answers it. Because I felt like if they would have ever answered it, it would have been a little bit less than. I think, confusion about characters aside, I sort of wish that some of the stuff with the stones in the game that they have on the ship was a little bit... Either there were less of them or it was a little more clarified. I feel like that they could have shown a lot less and just be like, hey, look, we took the telepathy from these guys and we made the swapper, so see you later.
Yeah.
But
I do love the fact that they bring up how old the stones are and how basically... Yeah, we kind of need to research this because this is a quantum computer, essentially. All of these stones interconnected is the oldest example we can possibly see of a quantum computer. So let's get this organized so we can actually do some stuff.
yeah. Whoops, we're dead.
Yep.
Yeah.
Evidently, Dr. Dennett was named after a philosopher. I meant to look up before this and what they philosophized, but that's not a word.
Probably the nature of the soul, I would guess, based on his whole argument of you really shouldn't do this because it's not as simple as you pull the trigger and you are now in this body. It's something completely different.
Yeah.
They had a real interesting discussion on what the game meant in the Giant Bomb forums I was reading, and one guy kind of posited that, like, I guess the first people that swapped went crazy, right?
Yes, it's mentioned in the logs, yeah. Well, I think
and
that's
the
also...
next people that didn't freak out because they were the exact same. So then it's like you could easily see a play for, no, they're not the same person. They just are literally the exact same, so they're making the exact same movements that each other would.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's also mentioned in that the first people who did the swap aspect of it did it as two conscious people in their own bodies swapped into each other's body, rather than the whole clone thing. They swapped it into each other's body, so it was like me being in Boston's body and Boston being in mine, and that's what's kind of driven them insane.
Real Freaky Friday situation.
Yes, I will pretend I get that reference.
Well, I just added to the Old Dog New Flicks list.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say, overall, I'm happy that it came up on the list and that I played it. I feel like it's one of those puzzle games, like MusiM said, that'll probably, like with The Witness, that will stick with me for some of those cool moments, and the style will look cool, and we don't get a lot of games that sort of, without being pretentious, asks a lot of those questions, and I felt like it didn't have a lot of pretension, and I just sort of dug it, and I wish that, nausea aside, I could have played more of it.
Yeah.
What are your final thoughts, guys?
I mean, I'm pretty much the same. I'm really glad I played it. I was surprised about how short it was because I felt like I was only like 2 hours in, and I felt like I was about a quarter of the way, and it's like, oh wait, no, you're like halfway through and you're done. Okay. My own brain being a problem for a couple of those last puzzles with the gravity stuff, I actually really enjoyed it. It was also really good to just sit down and probably not the best time to be playing it was like after long hard days of work and my brain,
Right.
I'm exhausted, my brain just wants to shut down and I'm just, let's play this puzzle platformer game and see how things go. Well, even with all that included, I still really enjoyed it, and I did like the fact that it brought that whole argument up of what is life, what is a soul, what is consciousness, and I love those kinds of conversations. I'll have that conversation with myself or anyone else 1,000 times a day, and I will be happy.
Yeah.
I don't know that I have super final thoughts, but I enjoyed the game. I don't know that it's gonna it's a cool mechanic and puzzle solving technique. I don't know that the story wound up doing too much for me. I think they had some neat ideas in there, but I'm glad it was shorter. I'm glad that I went 5 sessions. I basically would go until I got stuck for a little bit too long and then put it down and come back, and that didn't always work with me in The Witness. So I'm glad it worked here. But it was good to get me out of my game style bubble that I generally reside in. So
yeah. Well, let's talk about our next game now that we've wrapped up the swapper. Next game is Shovel Knight.
Oh
no.
Which I'm very excited to play. So there's sort of a sticking point here to talk about, but let's talk about platforms here because it's the most we've had on the show. It's PC, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, 3DS, Amazon Fire Stick, PS3, Vita, and Wii U. So you have one of those.
Yep. I own this on the Xbox.
Did you put the Switch in that list?
Yes, it's on Switch.
Okay.
And Shovel Knight will run on basically any PC, so you're probably pretty good. The thing about Shovel Knight is if you haven't purchased it before, you're going to be buying Shovel Knight Treasure Trove, which includes Shovel Knight and the 2 pieces of DLC, and the third one that is out sometime this year, which is probably going to happen the day after we record the recap for this for the show. If you owned it before then, you should have the DLC already. So you should have gotten upgraded to the Treasure Trove edition. We're going to be focusing on just Shovel Knight. We might talk about the 2 pieces of DLC, depending on how short stuff is and how far we get. But we're gonna primarily, the required reading is just Shovel Knight by itself, and maybe a little bit of a detour of the Treasure Trove stuff. But I'm very excited to play Shovel Knight again because it's really great, and I think one of the 2 of you haven't played this before.
I haven't played it.
Perfect.
2 of the 2 of us have never played this before.
I'm so excited. Well, so the next game is Shovel Knight.
Quick clarification for me here. Is this the one that's the roguelike?
No, it's just a platformer.
Okay, the other one is the one that's like a roguelike. I don't know what that one's called. Because they both came out around about the same time. I wish I could remember what it's called.
Oh, you're thinking of... Cellar Door Games put that out.
Is it Rogue Knight, by any chance?
Rogue Legacy.
There we go.
Yeah, Rogue Legacy is really good too.
Yeah, I've never played that one either.
But yeah, Shovel Knight is our next game. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you all next month.
Bye-bye.